Hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football and welcome back to a Manchester United news, takeover news, transfer news and general update, chit-chat, live stream. And the most shocking news coming in today. We've got major breaking, shocking news coming in today. And that news is that Chelsea might be winning a football game. I've just looked at the score. Chelsea have just scored. This is not a joke. This is real. Chelsea under Lampard might be winning a football game with 5 minutes left in those games. And I thought I would go live just before the 3 o'clock kickoffs end because, to be honest, no one wants to watch Manchester City absolutely dominate and obliterate Leeds. It's very boring. Nobody wants to watch Tottenham winning because they're fun to watch losing. And if Chelsea are winning, that's just an absolute shock. And Bournemouth, I feel for them because I actually think Bournemouth should have had a penalty, in my opinion. But I want to get into the news. I want to get into the takeover news. I want to get into the transfer news. I do want to get into the normal chit-chat stories as well. 2-1 City. Have Leeds just scored? Are you joking? Have Leeds just scored? Is Leeds just scored? Or is that just me as well? But we've got some stories on Ratcliffe. That's a good, that is the best way to describe him, because what he's doing, what he's planning on doing, every little thing about Sir Jim Ratcliffe is an absolute disgrace. And I'm going to get into that. We've got some good news on Jurrien Timber to United. We've got some interesting transfer news about Kane, other stories, Alexis McAllister to Liverpool. We will talk about that. But I do want to go and dive into the Jim Ratcliffe story because honestly, guys, it's an absolute disgrace. But City are 2-1 up here. And I think Usman tweeted something. If I can find it. And I think Usman summed it up perfectly if I can find Usman's tweet here, and if I can find it, he said here, no, where is it? So yeah, Usman went in on the Glazers and he said, Sir Jim Ratcliffe has just confirmed that he will be following the Glazers model, allowing them to stay until 2026 and hoping to use the profits of the club to eventually buy the stake in the club. Absolutely disgusting. And this is kind of a summary of what I'm outraged by. Not Usman's tweet. Usman's tweet is spot on. I'm going to get into the news that's come out. And Usman kind of sums up the news that's come out today perfectly. Essentially, Sir Jim Ratcliffe knows he cannot compete with Qatar to buy the Glazers out. If we want the Glazers out now, Sir Jim Ratcliffe knows he cannot compete with Qatar. He cannot compete with Qatar's offer. But because he's such a greedy, dirty, playing little businessman, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, he proposed this plan. Going, I can't beat Qatar. If we get the Glazers out now, I don't have the money to go up there and beat Qatar because I have to borrow this money, etc., etc. So basically, Sir Jim Ratcliffe's new plan that has been revealed today, that has been leaked, is essentially that he would buy 50% of United, and then the money he makes from United, and rather than investing back into the club, investing in a new stadium, the money he makes from the club a few years down the line, he will use to buy the Glazers out of the club. And some people are saying, oh, well, that means the Glazers will be gone in 5 years. Qatar, Glazers could be gone now. 5 years of Sir Jim Ratcliffe, the Glazers could be gone. But I don't think people are understanding the concept of the only reason the Glazers are going is because Sir Jim Ratcliffe will use the money he makes from Manchester United to buy the Glazers out. So instead of using his own money to buy the club and clearing the club of its debts like Qatar want to do, Sir Jim Ratcliffe is coming out saying, well, I can't compete with Qatar, so I'll buy a bit of the club now, but so I can afford to buy the Glazers out, I will use the money I make from United rather than clear the debt, rather than invest it in there, to further buy the Glazers out. And if you can't afford to buy the Glazers out now, if you can't afford to compete with Qatar, why are you doing this? For me, I really, and I think Jim Ratcliffe unfortunately will be the next owner because he will give Qatar more money per share. Unless we can, he'll give, well, I can't even speak. Jim Ratcliffe will give the Glazers more money per share. Unless Qatar can do something up that offer. We get the preferred bidder on Tuesday, reportedly, and I'm going to get into that. But the idea of Sir Jim Ratcliffe using the money he makes from Manchester United to then further buy out the Glazers and buy out the club. Yes, he's buying out the Glazers. Yes, that's a positive. But it's like, if you can't afford to buy the club and buy out the Glazers now, for me, you don't deserve to be here at United. You don't deserve to be running the club. And Sir Jim Rat does not have the money to buy the club, and Ratcliffe is worse than the Glazers. I mean, I don't know if he's worse than the Glazers, but he's just another Glazer, isn't he, as well? And Glazers are destroying next season of United. Even if they stay with Ratcliffe, they are going to do a lot of paperwork, and transfer strategy will need to be established. This is, well, I wouldn't maybe compare that to the Munich disaster, but it's an annoying situation because Ten Hag knows what he wants. Ten Hag wants Harry Kane. Ten Hag wants a midfielder like Frankie de Jong. Ten Hag wants a player like Jurrien Timber, and Ten Hag wants a goalkeeper. That is what Ten Hag wants in the summer, potentially Frimpong as well. Ten Hag knows what he wants in the summer. Manchester United are looking at sporting directors, people to come in on the summer, but nothing can happen until this takeover is done, until this work is finalised. And the Glazers delaying this takeover, delaying the deal, we don't know what's going on. It is just a big fat pain. And when this takeover is done, I will be relieved. Timber would be a 10 out of 10 signing. Honestly, I can't wait to get into Timber news. I am talking really fast. I do apologise. The reason I'm talking really fast is because people downstairs are freaking shouting. And if I talk loud, then I talk fast. And I'm trying to block out the noise coming from downstairs because I can hear it as I'm going live. And it's driving me crazy. So I do apologise if I'm speaking fast. And is the camera blurry? Is everything okay with sound? I will speak slower. I do want to get into a few stories. The Rat will never be able to come to Old Trafford. I mean, look, that's what we hope. It's just a game of football. Why are you getting upset? It's a Saturday night. Go out and enjoy life instead of sitting in your bedroom crying over a football team. I mean, I'm not sitting in my bedroom crying over a football team. I'm being passionate about the club that I support, Manchester United, and saying that I want owners that are best for United. I want owners that are going to come to United, invest money in the club, make this club the best club possible, be able to compete with Manchester City, who I'm watching playing incredible football, rather than have 17 years of Glazer ownership just for them to sell them to someone else that's going to take money out of the club. The way football is going now, you need money, whether you like it or not. If you want to be a top club in football, you're going to need that Middle Eastern investment or crazy level of investments. If we want to compete with Manchester City, Newcastle, if we actually want to get back to where we're going to be, it's not sustainable to live off, oh, but we're a big club, we generate loads of money. It's not sustainable. There's so much money in football that as big of a club Manchester United are, as much money as Manchester United generate, if Manchester United want to be successful, if Manchester United want to be in Premier Leagues and Champions Leagues again, we've got to have good owners that aren't going to be taking money out of the club, that are going to be investing money in the club, have the financial capabilities to compete at the top. And that is why I'm passionate about this takeover, because at the end of the day, all I care about tonight and all I care about today is actually, I just want what's best for Manchester United. I just want what's best for Manchester United. I want, the Glazers gone. I want owners that come in and care about this club, because Manchester United is important. And that is my honest opinion as well. I do want to get into some news. I do want to get to some stories. Is there any updates in the scores coming out at all, or not really? I want to get into Garnacho's interview in just a second, but we'll just check the Premier League scores, and then I do want to get into the Jim Ratcliffe news. So Chelsea are actually unbelievable. Chelsea have scored 3 goals and are actually going to win a game. Unbelievable. I mean, I think that is the most shocking news to come out today. Manchester City 2, Leeds 1. Could Leeds do anything? I highly doubt it. Tottenham, will Tottenham bottle it? I highly doubt it. And Wolves with a big derby win over Villa. So we've got those games. But you know what's important? Because, and I'm going to say this before I get into the news, before I get into Sir Jim Ratcliffe news, is Liverpool have got to lose or drop points today. I pray that Liverpool lose, they drop some kind of points today, because these Liverpool fans are tweeting, we're going to get top 4, we're going to get top 4, we're going to get top 4. These Liverpool fans are convinced they are getting top 4. I'm saying, look, if Manchester United beat Bournemouth, Chelsea, West Ham, we get top 4. We've also got Wolves and Fulham to play. We could drop points to West Ham and we could drop points to Fulham. But as long as we beat Wolves, Brighton, Chelsea, and Bournemouth, we get top 4. We need 3 out of 5 wins. I think we will get 3 out of 5 wins, considering the games we have left, and 3 of them are at home. So if we win our next 3 home games, we've got top 4, and that is Liverpool having to win all their remaining games. And I just want Liverpool to drop some points, to just peg them down a bit today. Oh, we're getting top 4. Oh, we're getting top 4. You're not. You've got Brentford. That's a difficult game. You've got Leicester. That's an easy game. You've got Villa. That's a difficult game. If anyone's going to take points off Liverpool, it will be Brentford and Villa. Okay, they will get 3 points versus Leicester, and they will get 3 points versus Southampton, because Southampton will be down and done out. But if let's say they lose to Brentford, United just need to get 2 wins. Let's say Brentford get a win today, all we've got to do is beat Bournemouth and Wolves at home, and that is top 4 for us. So I really hope, before anything, that Liverpool get knocked down a peg, because their fans are just absolutely convincing that they're getting top 4. Liverpool, for me, I think Brighton will finish above Liverpool. I think Brighton will finish above Liverpool as well. Something has to happen within 2 weeks. Glazers need to go before the window opens. The window opens in a couple of weeks, and the Glazers are still here. It's an absolute disgrace as well. And I hope Qatar raise their bid. We can't compete with City without big money being invested in the squad. Exactly. The most important thing is that Qatar raise their bid. I'm just going to do 1 sec as well. Oh, one sec, people. But yeah, I want to dive into the news now because the 3 o'clock fixtures are over. There is quite a bit of transfer news coming out. There is a few stories on Jurrien Timber. There's a few stories on Alexis McAllister. There's a few other stories coming out as well. Gundogan, I mean, he's just put in, honestly, probably the best performance of his lifetime. An absolutely unreal performance from Ilkay Gundogan. You know, absolutely mad as well. But I want to get into the news, obviously, on, I mean, this isn't Sheikh Yassim. I want to just clarify something. There are people out here. There's people out here that generally believe that this is Sheikh Yassim. Because someone's called themselves. I don't know how gullible some people are. Because look, people will believe anything. But if you see someone called Sheikh Yassim who is claiming that this is his offer on Twitter with 2,000 followers, I hate to break it to you, but this is not Sheikh Yassim. And I saw someone send me this tweet going, look, you know, well, not this tweet, but this account, like, oh, look, Sheikh Yassim said he's doing this. I'm going to tell you something now. This is not Sheikh Yassim, people. He's saying my 100, you know, this could be somewhat correct information, but this is not Sheikh Yassim. I just want to clarify that as well. Chelsea is celebrating that they're safe from relegation, but let's get into the news on Jurrien Ratcliffe. Let's get into reports. So Sky Sports, and I know I've taken like 10, 15 minutes to get into the report, so I do apologise. But Sky Sports have come out with an article today, and Sky Sports are kind of outline what Jurrien Ratcliffe and Ineos' plan is. So it was said, Sky News has learned that Ineos billionaires' takeover bid includes put and call arrangements which would become exercisable in 2026 and which would pave the way for the Glazer family's complete exit as shareholders. So you look at that and you go, this could be good. This could be exciting. This means that even though the Glazers could be here for the next 3 years, Jim Ratcliffe has plans to get rid of the Glazers. You think, okay, well, this is a positive. This is it. The Glazers can still go if Jim Ratcliffe comes in here. They won't be here forever, but they'll be here for another 3 years. Now, at the end of the day, if the Glazers are here for another 3 years, and all the Glazers could leave next week, we're going to pick the Glazers to leave next week. But if they leave eventually, they leave eventually. The problem with this is, as part of Jim Ratcliffe's arrangement, if Jim Ratcliffe wants to get the Glazers out of Manchester United, then Jim Ratcliffe is going to have to use the money he makes from Manchester United to do that. Now, that is the problem. That is what we don't want, because we have the Glazers using Manchester United's money to do their dividends, to fund their lifestyle, taking money out of the club. We'll have Jim Ratcliffe taking money out of the club to then give to the Glazers to buy out the Glazers. So not only would Jim Ratcliffe be buying the club, borrowing money to buy the club and putting the club in more debt. Well, technically, he's putting Ineos in debt, when we could have Qatari owners that have the funds to buy the club, do everything we want to the stadium, etc. But Jim Ratcliffe will be keeping the Glazers here for another couple of years and then using Manchester United's money to potentially buy out the Glazers. Or he'll be using other money he borrows to buy out the Glazers. I guess you can look at this and say, well, the positive is this means that the Glazers might be brought out. This means that the Glazers won't be here forever. And there is a big positive in that. But I just think everything about the Jurrien Ratcliffe deal was a red flag. I'm a so-called Manchester United fan. You tried to buy Chelsea. You have a Chelsea season ticket. I'm a Manchester United fan. You proposed a deal for the Glazers to stay. If you, Jurrien Ratcliffe, were a Manchester United fan and you cared about Manchester United more than your pockets, more than your business, you would then sit there and pave the way and let Qatar buy Manchester United, because you know Qatar is what would be best for the club. So not only has Jurrien Ratcliffe lied to the fans, not only is Jurrien Ratcliffe proposing for the Glazers to stay, not only has Jurrien Ratcliffe not got the funds and not promised to do anything to the stadium or make a lot of the investments that we need because he doesn't have the funds for that, he's buying the club on borrowed money, which is what the Glazers done. He's keeping the Glazers here, and potentially he could be taking money out of the club to not only fund himself, but to fund the sale even further, to potentially buy the Glazers out. Now, some people will think that's a good thing. For me, I don't. I'm not a big fan of Jurrien Ratcliffe this, Jurrien Ratcliffe that. In fact, I think Jurrien Ratcliffe is a big red flag, if I'm being honest with you as well. I will get further into that story. There's a lot more information on that story I want to dive into. Just 1 second. Don says, bless you, Alice. What's your thoughts on United choosing not to sign Wout Weghorst? Good. We signed the Garlo. Look where it got us. You know, Wout Weghorst is not good enough. Wout Weghorst, he runs. He's got passion. I like Weghorst. I think he's a nice guy, but he's not good enough for United. And you know what? I'm going to get stick for this, because I see a lot of fans going, Sabitzer, 20 million bargain, like Sabitzer, 20 million bargain. Yeah, I get Sabitzer. Sabitzer, he's an all right player. He's an all right squad player. But I don't want Man United to be signing squad players. Sabitzer, 20 million, decent squad player, decent depth player, but he's never going to be a starter. He can't start for Bayern. He can't start for United. Sabitzer's never going to be a starter at Manchester United. He's not good enough to be a starter at United. He's a decent player. I like Sabitzer. 20 million is a decent price for him. But I'll be honest as well. I probably wouldn't sign Sabitzer. If I'm being, in all honesty with you, I wouldn't sign Wout Weghorst. I wouldn't sign Sabitzer. I don't care that Sabitzer's a bargain. I want Manchester United to be at the top. I want Manchester United to be the very best. And to achieve elite squad depth, you need to buy people that would push your current players out of the squad. Sabitzer was spending 20 million on a bench player for squad depth. But wouldn't you rather spend 30 million on another midfielder that would put Eriksen on the bench, and Eriksen would be your bench depth? Because our best lineup is Casemiro, Eriksen, Bruno midfield three, yeah? But imagine buying a midfielder, Sabitzer for 20 million that's on the bench if something happens to Eriksen. Cool. Or something happens to Bruno, cool. But imagine going in and buying a midfielder that would put Eriksen on the bench. Because if we want to compete, and this is how I feel, if we want to compete with the Manchester Cities, we want to compete with the people at the top of the league. I think Fred's a good bench player. I think Sabitzer's a good bench player, But if you want to be at the top, your bench players need to be the Eriksens. Your bench players need to be the Brands. Your bench players need to be the Antonys. People that are starting for Manchester United now in our strongest lineup are the type of, I want players that are going to come in and potentially knock them onto the bench. Because for me, having elite bench depth is okay. Our first starting 11 is really good. When we play in Delot, Luke Shaw, Varane, Martinez, Casemiro, Bruno, Anthony, Rashford, and Martial, when that whole team is fit all together, no suspensions, which we've seen once all this season is fit, Manchester United are unbelievable. We play our strongest starting 11 with all those players, and Manchester United are unbelievable. Bish, bash, bosh. We have one or two injuries, we fall. But imagine we buy players where, that knocks Anthony on the bench, or that knocks, Eriksen on the bench, and that knocks Varane on the bench. Imagine that. All of a sudden, if we do get a few first team injuries, we can next season, and we brought people that are putting our current first team on the bench, then all of a sudden our bench depth would be our best starting 11 now. I think Sabitzer's a good player, but Sabitzer isn't good enough to start. Well, he can start, but one thing is Sabitzer doesn't make our strongest starting 11. I think Man United need to be buying people that would actually, apart from a Casemiro backup, because I think we need a Casemiro backup. I think every player United buy, they need to say, would this player knock Varane onto the bench? So then if something happens to our centre backs, Varane is our bench depth. Would this player knock Eriksen onto the bench? Would this player knock Martial onto the bench? If you sign Kane, Martial's on the bench. If you sign De Jong, Eriksen's on the bench. If you sign Timber, that's good competition for Varane, but also good competition for Delot. I think if you now want to push up a level, and maybe it's my opinion, but we need to be signing players that are actually going to push our current best starting 11 on the bench. And, I've got a lot of stick for this. A lot of people want Sabitzer, 20 million good bench player, but my theory is bench players need to be our current starting 11. And maybe that's an unpopular opinion, but I like Weghorst, I like Sabitzer, but I actually wouldn't go for any of them as well. Guys, where do you think Liverpool are going to finish? I think Liverpool are going to finish 5th. Good, but missed the penalty, but that's just what happens in football as well. Is the sound okay? I was talking really loudly because people were shouting downstairs as well. City won almost a three-peat. We cannot let City get the three-peat, but that's probably going to happen. That's out of our hands. But one thing we cannot let happen is the treble. And do you know what the best thing about the Manchester City treble is? Nothing is good about it. Nothing is, but it is in our hands. We play Manchester City in the FA Cup final. We can stop Manchester City winning the treble. Real Madrid can stop Manchester City winning the treble. Arsenal have been hopeless at there, but we've got to do our bit. I do not want Manchester City to win the treble. I think that would be absolutely horrific. But if someone can stop them, we have a job to do, and hopefully we will as well. With the Glazers and Ratcliffe owning United, we may only buy players like Sabitzer. That is a point. I do think, that the budget will be tight. I'll be honest with you. I've heard that the budget's going to be tight. I've not been told something by a source, or I don't know anything that you guys don't know, but I read the news, I read the media, I follow the media. Manchester United summer budget is probably going to be high, especially if we don't have Qatar. If we do have Qatar, United can stretch the budget, of course, but we've got FFP. We can only spend a net profit of 100 million anyway. We have to raise sales and we have to get top 4. I think if we can make 100 million from sales, we get top 4. I think we can spend up to 200 plus million with Qatar. But I do think if we get someone like Sir Jim Ratcliffe, I think it would be Sabitzer, I think it would be Kane, and I think we get one other player, 20 million, that goes in defence. I think if it's Qatar, it's Kane, it's a midfielder, it's a defender, and potentially someone else that shocks us. Ten Hag wants a midfielder and a striker more than anything. Ten Hag's prioritised striker followed by midfielder. But after that, Ten Hag wants a centre-back that could potentially play right-back like Jurrien Timber, which we'll get into. Ten Hag is potentially looking at a goalkeeper. Ten Hag's potentially looking at a second midfielder. But Ten Hag knows that, while he wants these 5 players and while he wants these 5 positions to be covered, Ten Hag knows that might not happen. Ten Hag is kind of known and accepted. To compete with Man City, I need a good 5-6 signings, but I might only get 3. So he's prioritised 3 signings. The problem is, will the Glazers give him the 3 signings he prioritises? Probably not. Will Sir Jim Ratcliffe give him the 3 signings he prioritises? Probably it'll be difficult because, this takeover process is going on so long. So although it's said that, Jurrien Timber wants to work with Ten Hag again, and Jurrien Timber would wait for Ten Hag in the summer, and Jurrien Timber knows he's leaving Ajax in the summer and would be willing to wait for Ten Hag, will he wait if Bayern come knocking on Jurrien Timber's door? Will he wait? We thought Gakpo was going to wait. He couldn't be bothered to wait. He went to Liverpool. McAllister can't be asked to wait. He's going to Liverpool. The problem is with this transfer window, the problem with this takeover is there's a lot of players that want their summer move, but they want their summer move quick. And if United are going to be missing the first couple of weeks of the summer window, doing no action because of this sodding takeover, we could potentially lose out on players that we want as well. I'm also just going to scroll down the chat as I'm a little bit behind as well. Watch this space. Something will happen in the next 2 weeks. Sale needs to happen either way, good or bad. Otherwise, we won't buy any player and transfer the market. And you're right. At the end of the day, we need the sale to happen. We need something to happen in the coming weeks. There is a chance that if a sale does happen, the Glazers could give up control of transfers before the full sale is complete. But that was very much a could, and a could with some stars next to it. Would the Glazers do that? Probably not. Could they do that? Probably. Which could help. But yes, at the end of the day, something is going to happen soon. And I think the most important thing is we just need the sale process bish bash bosh done and wrapped up. Because once this sale process is bish bash bosh done and wrapped up, we can actually get on with our summer. We can get on with our plans. There's Jurrien Timber, there's Harry Kane, there's midfielders we're looking at, there's Frimpong, there's goalkeepers we're looking at. But we know who we want. We know who Ten Hag wants to an extent. But we can't do anything until that transfer window until this takeover is summed up, which I think is really annoying as well. Sabitzer scored the winner against Fulham, a brace against Sevilla until Maguire and De Gea messed everything up. But look, I think Sabitzer's a good player, but I just want better. I want United. I don't want United to be a top 4 side. I want United to be that side that we look at Man City now and go, mate, that Gundogan is class. Mate, that Kevin De Bruyne is class. I want people to look at every single one of our players and be like, wow, I want to be where Manchester City are. I don't want to be top 4 United like where we are now. We're top 4 United. We're doing well. We won a trophy under Ten Hag. I want to be up there with Manchester City. I want to be there in the Champions League semi-final. When was the last time Man United made a Champions League semi-final? So I don't know. We've made the quarter-final under Oli. I think we've made the quarter-final maybe once in the last 10 years of the Champions League. I'm going to Google this. Now. When was the last time? Because it was a while ago. Man United made the UCL semi-final. Man City made 3 semi-finals in a row. I don't know when Manchester United made the semi-final of the Champions League. It was a while. Actually, it's not coming up on Google. Why is that not a thing that comes up on Google? If someone could tell me, I'd be interested as well. Budget was tight last year. We spent 250 million. Yeah, I mean, look, they say the budget's tight. You never know. We could have a lot more money as well. Alice, we need to cement the top 4 finish ASAP and rest players for the FA Cup final, else we've got no chance. I do think, look, 3 wins, and we can rest players last game of the season and cement ourselves for the FA Cup final. That would be nice as well. I'm still confident that Qatar will buy United. Well, we'll get into some news on Qatar and Qatar's plans in just a second. Just taking a quick swig of water. Can't speak today as well. I don't think the Glazers can spend limitless money if Qatar and Ratcliffe buys the club because of FFP rules. And that is the thing. Even if Qatar come in, I don't think we'll have a reckless summer. 90 likes, we get 200 likes, guys. So please do smash that like button. Of course, subscribe down below. Steve says, we're so far behind Man City. Even with the shake, it could take a couple of seasons. Exactly. But I think Sir Jim and I think the Glazers keep us even further behind. I think we get Qatar in, at least we'll slowly catch them up, but even though it could be slow. Wish Timber could grow inches, for fuck's sake. Don't want 2 centre backs who are below 6 feet. We need at least one who can dominate in the air and score headers from corners. I do think I want to talk about Jurrien Timber quickly, but I've still got takeover news to get into. I think Jurrien Timber has his weaknesses. I think there's liabilities with buying Jurrien Timber. And I think him and Martinez's height, there will be vulnerabilities. And, we'd have to get a better goalkeeper and potentially another profile in the field to get around those vulnerabilities. But the reason I like Jurrien Timber and the reason I'm okay with United signing Jurrien Timber is I think that him and Martinez can work. We just have to work around their liabilities in the air. But Jurrien Timber can also play right back. And I think Jurrien Timber, one area United struggle from, and I think this doesn't help with De Gea, is actually playing out from the back and being comfortable on the ball. And I think Jurrien Timber could really help with our ball progression, even if he played right back. I know he's not the Frimpong, the kind of right back that would bring the best out of Sancho and Anthony. He is a very defensive right back. But you look at Arsenal with Ben White, he's doing a good job there. I think with Jurrien Timber, he's a very good signing in the sense of he's a 10-year-old player. He's young. He has the potential to go to the top. He can play next to Martinez very well, but he could also play at right back. And I think what Jurrien Timber brings is if you need a centre-back and you need a right back, but you can only sign one of those positions, if you get Jurrien Timber, you kind of get the best of both in a sense. And I think Jurrien Timber would be smart business, but there are weaknesses with it as well. And, I think that you can still have, do brilliance with having these two small centre-backs. But, yeah, there's definitely vulnerabilities. But I still think Jurrien Timber would be fantastic signing. Was it 2009? It's been a while since United have gone far in the Champions League. We get in the Champions League and we get knocked out in the round of 16. When was the last time we've gone far? When I look at the Champions League, when was the last time that you can sit there and you go, yeah, United have gone far in this Champions League? You can't sit there and go, United have gone far in the Champions League for a while. And this is why I want new ownership. This is why I want good new ownership. This is why I want new ownership that's not going to make us a top 4 club that gets knocked out in the round of 16 of the Champions League every year and every now and then might win a trophy. I want to be a club that you expect to make the Champions League semi-final. You expect to make the Champions League final. You expect to win the Premier League. If Qatar takes over and the Glazers have any dignity, they will make transfers possible immediately. I mean, that's what you hope for, but you never know as well. But yeah, Timber can play right back. With Qatar owners, we will be about 4 seasons away to be able to compete with City. City are a long way ahead, but I reckon we could do it in 2. I reckon we could do it in 2. If we have the real right owners with the right strategy, employing the right people, having a good transfer strategy. And I want to talk about good transfer strategy because we've been linked, and I forgot what his name is, but I have it in my notes somewhere. But look at Napoli. Napoli have just won their first Scudetto in 30-something years or something crazy. But Napoli's sporting director done a fantastic job. They have that winger. They have Victor Osimhen. They've got fantastic players. Napoli, and I've seen them play a couple of times. I haven't really watched them in Serie A, but I've watched them a couple of times in the Champions League, and they were phenomenal. Even against the big sides. But they've won. They've had their best season in years, Napoli, and their sporting director's done a very good job. Kim Min-jae's. That was from Mallorca or something. He signed Kim Min-jae for some very unheard of players that he signed, and he's Napoli's scouting recruitment has been brilliant. And it was said that United are looking to poach him from Napoli. So name's completely gone for me. And if we do get more stories than that, I will talk about that. But that would be a smart move. It's not. I think this takeover is not only about getting the right owner in. That I think would be Qatar, but it's also actually, do we need a Paul Mitchell, the Napoli sporting director, and Michael Edwards? It's getting the right owner in, but it's also making sure the owner employs the right people. Todd Boehly was acting as Chelsea sporting director for a bit. Look where that got Chelsea. Get the right owner in that has the money, that has the capabilities to fund Manchester United to get them to Manchester City's level. And then when you get the right owner in, bring in the right people, bring in the right sporting director. That is what I think Manchester United need to do if they want to get to the very top as well. I'm just going to scroll down as I'm really behind on the live chat, people, so I do apologise as well. Ajax always had a strong CDM to compensate for the height. You could see Eric Ten Hag using Scott because of it. I think he would want a better DM than Scott. I think if we did sign Jurrien Timber, we'd need to sign a DM. If I'm being honest with you, I think Man United should sign Jurrien Timber, Moises Caicedo, Harry Kane, David Raya, and then see if they can find another midfielder. See if they can find another midfielder as well. But maybe someone creative, maybe someone with a height, potentially someone like Enzo Lafay. That's what I would do if I was United. But it's so difficult because I think there's so many positions that we need and so many kind of profiles that we need. It's actually going which one is best, because we signed this player, he's very good at this, but he might have a weakness in this, which might mean we have to sign a player that's strong in this. It's so hard to plan the transfer window, which is again why we need a good sporting director, someone that's going to follow Ten Hag's plan, someone that knows what's best for the club, but also why we need, you know, the backing, because, you know, I don't trust Sir Jim. I think Sir Jim would give Ten Hag one banging transfer window and fans would be like, yeah, Sir Jim. And then I think he would turn into Glazers Gate as well. This guy says, I feel these are scare tactics being purposely leaked by Rain in order to scare Qatar into driving up their final bid. Details of Jurrien Ratcliffe's offer are coming out all of a sudden pretty suspicious. And I agree to an extent. I think the sources that are coming out leaking this information are very credible people that have been very spot on with the takeover and the transfer news. However, these people are being briefed by the club. These people are being briefed by the Rain Group. So because of the non-disclosure agreement signed, any real information that comes out is briefed by the Rain Group. And the Rain Group won't brief anything unless the Glazers want them to. So a lot of the news coming out is because the Glazers want this news to come out. The Glazers are allowing this news to come out. And potentially the fact that Jurrien Ratcliffe's news came out 12 hours after his bid about Jurrien Ratcliffe's bid being higher in pole position, that's very quick for that kind of news to be released. And a part of me thinks that the Glazers got Qatar's bid, weren't happy with Qatar's bid, want to sell the full club and thought, well, we're going to see if we can get another bid out of Qatar. We're going to leak that Jim Ratcliffe's done this and this really close to see if we can get one last bid out of Qatar before it's too late when we go into the preferred ownership state. I really do think that. I do think that's a possibility. I think it's one of two things. Either A, this is a big game from the Glazers and they're trying to drive the Qatar bid up, or B, the Glazers do prefer, it's true, and the Glazers do generally prefer Jurrien Ratcliffe's offer because they can stay in charge for a little bit. Jurrien Ratcliffe is offering, you know, more per share, as it said. You know, it's one of the two scenarios, really, and I hope it's the third. I hope that, unfortunately, I think the Glazers will just delay the takeover and everything, but I hope that this is just a game to get Qatar to bid what they want, get Qatar to do what they want. That's what I'm hoping for. But again, you just don't know with the Glazers and their intentions as well. Ranking player purchases: Harry Kane, Moises Caicedo, Romeo Lavia, Rasmus Højlund, and Mike Manigan. You know what? That would be a good transfer window. I would change Højlund. I do think we need two strikers, but I would go for someone like Højlund next summer. The summer after, I'd change Højlund to a centre back like Timber or Kim Min-jae, and I'd say that would be a good approach as well. Ajax players are coached to play multiple roles as well, which I think is why Ten Hag likes versatile players. And I actually think that, you know, the best players are ones that can play multiple roles. I've noticed that Bruno Fernandes can play right wing, 10, deeper, and that's why Ten Hag loves him. Luke Shaw can play centre back and left back, and that's why Ten Hag loves him. You know, I do think that's why Ten Hag, and I wouldn't be shocked if United went for Timber because he can play multiple roles. I think it's the same with De Jong, the versatility as well. People say Timber isn't ready to join United. Even Ajax fans say he's nothing without Martinez. He isn't good in the air. I think, look, I do think there's liabilities and weaknesses with Timber, but I think it will be a good signing. And the thing I want to talk about regarding Jurrien Timber is that he's very young. He can play right back. He's a good player. He is improving. He has had a good season at Ajax. He started off a bit iffy. He works well with Lisandro Martinez, but he's a Ten Hag player. And he's a player that Ten Hag wants to sign. And I think if Ten Hag wants to sign a player, and Jurrien Timber is that player, I think that United should get him. But look, I know he has weaknesses and stuff, but the Jurrien Timber news is coming out. Basically, Jurrien Timber actually came out himself, and I want to get into Jurrien Timber news because I've not really got into it. Jurrien Timber actually came out himself and said, look, I want to move, you know, I'm leaving Ajax. Essentially, Jurrien Timber basically came out and said, I'm leaving Ajax this summer, we have an agreement. Jurrien Timber signed a new contract at Ajax, but he signed that new contract at Ajax as almost an agreement of, I will leave the following summer. I'll sign a new contract, I'll stay because of the World Cup, I'll spend one more year at Ajax, and then I'm leaving. Jurrien Timber is leaving Ajax this summer. Jurrien Timber will be around for about £40 million. And it is said that Jurrien Timber's preference is the Premier League and Manchester United, but Bayern Munich are also in the race. Bayern Munich and Manchester United are the two sides most likely to get Timber. It is said because of Erik ten Hag, because of his relationship with Erik ten Hag, Jurrien Timber is more than willing to wait for United. So Bayern Munich might try and snip up Jurrien Timber in a couple of weeks when Ajax season's over. But it's said that, you know, because of the takeover, Man United might not be able to do anything until July. But the news coming out is that Jurrien Timber could wait till July. United with Ten Hag have a unique selling point. If Jurrien Timber does choose the Premier League, it will be United. The feeling is that Jurrien Timber wants United and is ready to wait for United. So if it is true that Ten Hag wants Jurrien Timber, if it is true that, you know, United have prioritised Jurrien Timber this summer and United will go for him, then I do think there's a strong chance that this could happen because it said that Jurrien Timber would wait for United and would be open to moving to United. He almost came to us last summer. Louis van Gaal got in his head. But I do think Jurrien Timber is one to keep an eye on. I think Jurrien Timber, Harry Kane are very much two stories to keep an eye on as well. McAllister, as I said, I think he will go to Liverpool. Moises Caicedo, I don't think Brighton will sell two midfielders in the summer. I think what's going to be most interesting is what midfielder do United sign. I think Kane is the striker we're going to go for. I think Lavia we'll have a look at, but could he get swooped up by Chelsea before United make a move in, even though Chelsea aren't good? I think Kane and Timber and Frimpong are 3 players that I think United will be pursuing. I think United will be looking at goalkeepers, but I actually don't know which midfielder United are going to sign. Because McAllister, I think, will go to Liverpool and Bellingham will go to Real Madrid. Despite the rumours, I don't see United getting Camavinga. I don't see De Jong leaving Barcelona. Which midfielder do United get? Now, I think if Leicester go down, United swoop in for Maddison. But we need a deeper kind of midfielder. I don't know. I would like Casado. I don't know if he goes. Potentially Gravenberch of Bayern, but again, not 100% sure if that will happen. The actual real question I sit and think of is who's United going to sign in midfield? We haven't been too linked to Enzo Lafille or Maxim Kakare. As good as they are, we haven't been overly linked with them. Could it be Edson Alvarez of Ajax? Again, haven't been overly linked with them. We got linked with the Sporting player Ugarte a little bit, but not a lot. It's not really a midfield that we've been heavily linked with. Like, we've been linked with Kane very heavily, and we just know Timber's that 10 wants. But actually, when you think about it from a midfield perspective, I don't think we know which midfielder Ten Hag wants or which midfielder Ten Hag's likely to go for, if I'm being honest. I think we have a preference. I think Orkun Koku is probably one to keep an eye on. I think that'd be an easy one. But yeah, I mean, if I was going to guess, I'd say Orkun Koku. But I think the midfield is actually where it's going to be really interesting this summer. Just seeing what Manchester United do in midfield. Abraham and Joe, F off, shite, rats, parasites, Jim, Glazers and Jim, F off, shake, Altani in, says Jonathan. Love the honesty there. Love the honesty. Get together with Jim and do a song in the charts called They Don't Like Us, performed by the Glazers and the Rats. Honestly, I just think they're trying to ruin United as well. I'm starting to wonder if Sir Jim Ratcliffe is the Glazers' English cousin or something, because all of this scheming they are supposedly doing is disgraceful. Yeah, I mean, look, we don't know what's true and what's not true. With this takeover news, I think things get leaked. We don't know what's true and what's not true. Things just go around. But I have to say, the idea of what Sir Jim could do, it's not for me. I want someone that's going to clear the debt, that's going to build a new stadium, that's not going to take money out of the club, and is going to try their best to make sure Manchester United are up there with Manchester City. That's what I want in an owner, and that's what I think is valuable for an owner to have. Assuming Sir Jim Ratcliffe will get the Glazers out in 2026, the Glazers will have to get more money out of the club in those 3 years, and Sheikh Yassim can give them one shot. Qatar in, it says Andy as well. You do see Qatar will raise their price from these scare tactics being used by the bunch of rats who go by the name of Jim and the Glazers. Potentially, it's just a scare tactic. Potentially, this takeover news is just a spare tactic. Brentford 1-1 Liverpool. Yeah, what are your predictions for Brentford Liverpool? Let me know as well. We do need a DM to help Casemiro, and I think that's why Lavia of Southampton would be a good one. Breaking FFP is only a fine, by the way. Breaking FFP, yeah, you just have to do a Chelsea with the contracts or something. I mean, the thing is, if Man United got charged for breaking FFP, but not Chelsea and Manchester City, it'd be a joke. As Diego says, please hit the likes. It helps attract new people to Alice's channel. So please do smash that like button if you haven't already. And of course, subscribe down below if you're new as well. 128 likes. All this British media PR side said nothing. Sky Sports the other day got Schmeichel on TV to talk about how good of an owner Jim Ratcliffe was at Nice. PR all up Sir Jim's arse. We will be way behind the likes of Man City, Newcastle if we are under Sir Jim and the Glazer ownership. Exactly. And look, Sir Jim, I think, would be a better owner than the Glazers in the sense of I do generally believe that Sir Jim actually cares about football and watches football, unlike the Glazers. But he's just not good because you're lying to us. You want to keep the Glazers here. You're taking money out of the club. For me, I don't like it. Showcuts Han says it looks like City are running away with the title, and that's what I hate. Manchester City seem to just be running away with this title, and it's not nice as well. Chelsea actually won a game, which is unbelievable. But I want to continue on because I've not really got into the story. So it was also said by Sky News. You can see the first bit of the story on my screen. It said, some people involved in the deal expect a decision about a preferred bidder to be made this month. There is a feeling that before this time next week, the decision about a preferred bidder would be made. We also know there's a rumour that information is going to be leaked on Tuesday after the British bank holiday. So keep an eye out for my Tuesday video. It was said as well, sources said this weekend that Sir Jim's offer for majority ownership would include the put and call options, which, if triggered, would either force the Glazers to sell the remaining shares to him or force him to acquire them at specified future dates. One insider said the first window to exercise the option would occur 3 years after the deal was completed, with subsequent periods built on the transaction in the first one was not used by either side. So it said, so basically, in other words, Sir Jim Ratcliffe is just another Glazer. Sir Jim Ratcliffe is proposing to get the Glazers out of the club in a couple of years, but the way he would do that would probably be using Manchester United's money. Now, what we do know on the takeover, what Sky Sports did say, is in addition to Sheikh Yassim and Sir Jim Ratcliffe's proposal, Man United did receive 4 other credible offers for minority stakes. One is Qatar. So we've got Sir Jim and Sheikh Yassim and 4 minority stakes all competing for United. One of them is apparently going to be reported as a preferred bidder on Tuesday, and hopefully that will be Sheikh Yassim as well. Sir Jim hasn't done nothing at Nice, and that's the thing. Sky Sports were bigging up Sir Jim doing this and this and this at Nice, but actually, when you deep it, what has Sir Jim done at Nice as well? So Jim might be better than the Glazers. Look at OG Nice, exactly. And for me, I'll be honest, I try to be very neutral in this Sir Jim Qatar thing, but the more and more that just comes out on Sir Jim, the more and more I say I think Qatar is what's best for United as well. Ratcliffe's a businessman. Could it be he is working hand in hand with the Glazers to milk money out of Qatar and get some of the cash? I mean, I doubt it, but I mean, it's a possibility. You never know with the Glazers. I think Jim generally wants United, and I think Jim's willing to, make all the United fans hate him just so he can get United, even if it means the Glazers are staying. I think Jim's playing dirty tactics. But look, I've always said, look, it's not over yet. It looks like Sir Jim is winning the race. It looks like Sir Jim is favourite, but the takeover is not over yet. And I can't wait till the takeover is over because I just want to talk about the transfer news. I know we want Kane. I know we want this player. I know we want that player. But I just want to talk about the transfer news. I just want to talk about the good news. And unfortunately, I can't at the moment at Manchester United because it's just takeover this, takeover that. But anyway, people, I'm going to wrap up today's live stream. I know it's been a shorter live stream, but I'm aware that the Liverpool match is on in 5 minutes and you guys will be going off to watch Liverpool-Brentford. But there will probably be a video tonight or another live stream tonight, especially if Liverpool drop points. I'm sure I'll probably make a video on that. But I want to say, Liverpool, Alexis McAllister, 80 million, be my guest. I don't think Alexis McAllister for 80 million is worth for United. I think United need a striker, United need 2 midfielders, United need defensive reinforcement, and United need a goalkeeper this summer. And hopefully we get this summer sorted. Hopefully we do get what we need in the summer despite the delay of the takeover. And I don't like the idea of Sir Jim's new plan. I think it's shady. And I will be honest, I try and be somewhat neutral, but I'm very biased, and I want Qatar because I think Qatar will be best for United, and that's why I'm not a big fan of Sir Jim's bid. Anyway, people, smash that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. Let's hope for a Brentford win. I might be back later. So yeah, sorry it's a shorter live stream, but it was just in between the 3 o'clock and the 5:30 kickoffs as well. See you next time, and bye.